Hello and welcome back to Level 1 News. Today's Friday, March 25th. Is it March 25th?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Fall of Sauron Day. Isn't that great for everybody? Yay! And today we're doing robot nonsense news.
Too bad we don't have an AI story about, the Eye of Sauron or something.
Well, there's not really any news. But if you celebrate that kind of thing.
I don't know. It'd be fun to think about what sort of stories you would end up with if you only used the collective human knowledge through like the 8th century BC. How would you describe technological wonders of the day?
Well, we actually have a story about a donkey, but it's a robot. So that kind of...
Oh yeah, that's amazing. That's just
a donkey made out of metal and wheels. That would be hard to explain to someone.
But first,
Cornell researchers taught a robot to take Airbnb photos. This is actually fairly impressive, but also, the more I read the story, the more I was like, just hire people will do literally anything to not hire a photographer. These will probably scale up eventually, but imagine how many thousands of dollars you're spending on this when you could just hire a photographer.
Yeah. And a lot of the time, if you try to do a good job in doing these kinds of things, because people's expectation is not that, that's what's required to do a good job for that, they sort of give you a hard time. It's like, I want this to be amazing. And it's like, okay, I will make it amazing, but I must first do A, B, C, X, Y, Z. And they're like, you have no idea what you're talking about. And it's like,
yeah.
It's like, it's literally Ansel Adams that's telling you to do these things. Was that a famous photographer? I don't know.
The photos, though, it was pretty good. So it takes a bunch of photos of a room and then compiles them into, like, the best photo. So, like, every time it would take one, it would usually find one at the farthest back angle in a corner and then do a really wide angle shot so you get the best view of the room. It's pretty good at it.
Woo!
Pretty good. But again, just easier to do a human right now.
Speaking of robots that are pretty good at spotting things,
Asteroid spotted a mere 2 hours before impacting Earth. I think this was over Iceland.
Yeah, the Kiet Observatory in the Czech Republic snapped this asteroid 2022 EB5 just 13 minutes before impact.
Which everyone was a little bit panicked about, but then they were like, no, it's a good thing, because usually we can't find them this small. This thing was like 3 feet across. I'm not sure what that is in moon unit.
It's super tiny.
Yeah, it's not huge.
So that definitely means we're tracking any extraterrestrial visitors, right?
Well, I'd say probably more larger asteroids that would be more of a threat to Earth if they didn't burn up in the atmosphere entirely.
Well, you know that 3-foot asteroid, you know what it is a threat to? The James Webb Telescope.
NASA's Webb Space Telescope achieves near-perfect focus, whetting appetites for discoveries come. There should be a photo in this article. There it is, yeah. That is pretty dang crisp.
That is pretty awesome.
It's certainly better than some of the more foggy images we've gotten before.
Look at all those galaxies. It's just a few degrees warmer than the background warmth of space, which is pretty cold. So,
maybe we'll discover some new stuff.
Now, we had a story about maybe some tension on the International Space Station. It's probably overblown.
U.S. astronauts return hangs in the balance as tensions with Russia escalate.
That's the headline, but this...
I think he's still coming to Kazakhstan.
Yeah, this is fine. This is totally fine. This is just a clickbait headline. And it's like,
you need to
register
to
keep reading.
But
don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah, don't register with them.
He will be fine. This is just clickbait nonsense.
I imagine... even if they come back to Kazakhstan, so it's not like he's going to be in the middle of Russia anyway. So,
but just in case we're working on a plan B, a moon base. But you know what astronauts would really like to have at the moon base? Oxygen.
Building the first experimental payloads makes oxygen on the moon.
Woo! So it turns out regolith is like 40 to 60% oxygen by weight.
Can you not just find oxygen rock like you can in Icarus?
Regolith is literally oxygen rock.
Oh. Oh, this is kind of tangentially related, but I was looking up ways to aerate a pond, and there's a lot of drama on the pond side of YouTube that I did not know about. A lot of clickbait thumbnails, a lot of like, he stole fish from me, and like weird stuff. And I was like, I just wanted to learn about pond rocks, but all right.
Maybe a pump that pumps in like a little water wheel.
Yeah. I was like looking for stuff about that, and it was all drama channels, and I was like, is there drama in this community?
Speaking of drama,
NHTSA eliminates human controls requirement for fully automated vehicles.
fully automated vehicles like spaceships are just around the corner. No.
It's always just around the corner. Full self-driving.
Full self.
It's coming.
You paid for your full self-driving package, right? It's only going to get more expensive.
Yeah. It is only getting more expensive.
You know what could really use a full self-driving package?
This would be the easiest one to explain to the 8th century people. Kawasaki unveils a bizarre rideable robot goat instead of a new electric motorcycle. You should scroll down to see the video because they didn't have to put lights on this thing, but they did.
Listen, if you never click on anything from the Level 1 news, you have to just
check out the one tab.
Pause right now and go and watch this video. This is completely insane. This is wildly impractical. It's not even remotely as practical as a motorcycle. The only thing I could think of while I was watching the video is they should have used the Flash cartoon. Look at my horse. My horse is amazing.
Yeah.
They should have used that as the background for this. But this is the ultimate. So whoever is the crypto multimillionaires among us, they're going to buy this and they're going to take it with them to cosplay as the horse is amazing guy.
That's a Level 1 prediction. It has like lights that go up its ears and.
I mean, it's just, it's got RGB. I mean, it's just.
I love that they have like the sliding doors to reveal it. And do you think anybody in the audience, they were all like expecting, a motorcycle or something? They was like, oh, it's that thing.
Yeah. Now it can roll. It has wheels
Tactical.
on its knees because it sort of hops. It doesn't gallop. It just sort of hops.
Smooth ride. Just.
This is a wildly impractical steed.
I mean, it got the headlines, though. We're talking about it.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of running.
It could maybe do a little better job if they loaded it with this software.
MIT's robotic cheetah taught itself how to run and set a new speed record in the process. I don't like how fast that moves. That's like something you dream about coming toward you and then you wake up abruptly.
Yeah, it is a little disturbing. AI-powered simulations let the robot learn all by itself how to efficiently move on all types of terrain. So this was doing computational fluid dynamics simulations exactly like we learned about in the business section for Milan X. Definitely go check out the video because I got to see Milan X hands-on. It was amazing. So, yeah, they did a bunch of simulations and it worked. It was not slow and clumsy. It was very fast. That's like a fast zombie kind of clip. It's a little spooky. Yeah, it's when the robot's moving that fast, you're going to get hurt probably.
That's what you get to ride next. That's the next thing they're going to release is one that just runs at you.
It definitely would freak Grandma out if it was moving that fast. Fortunately, this one is anchored to the desk.
Is it ElliQ?
I think it's ElliQ.
The robot who wants to keep Grandma company.
I mean, on the one hand, this is kind of sad.
This is really sad.
No one wants to talk to Grandma because it's exhausting. So she's going to have to deal with the robots. But on the other hand, it would be nice if we lived in a society where you actually had time to talk to Grandma and it wasn't incoherent rambling.
Yeah, well, it was what we were talking about earlier where it was like you have all this time but no time for your kids or your family.
Yeah. And sometimes you've just heard everything that they have to say and there's just nothing left to say. There was an episode of Star Trek Voyager where the Voyager crew goes to the Q continuum and it was just, like a road in the desert. And, the crew was like, this is weird. The Q continuum for, omnipotent, omniscient beings as just a road in the desert. And Q was sort of explaining it as, well, what you're experiencing is what your puny brains can comprehend. Because you think about, something like a being like the Q. And then they happen upon some people who are just, sitting there in a chair, just sort of looking around. They're not really talking, and it's like they're awfully quiet. They don't say much, and it's like that's because they've said everything that can possibly be said. Every possible combination of words has already been said because this is literally infinite existence. There is nothing more to do. It's kind of like that, the grandma version of that. So it's like Grandma has literally said every combination of words that she's ever going to say. Sorry.
And so we're just going to give her a robot so she doesn't talk to anybody, which is kind of sad. Well, I guess it's like the old version of Hatsune Miku.
Yeah. I would much rather see Grandma playing Skyrim or something like that.
Something that engages the mind a little bit.
Yeah, well, this definitely would engage the mind.
I guess, yeah, if you're talking to it. But I feel like generally, at least with some of the AIs we've played with, like the one for AI Dungeon, it kind of reaches its limits pretty quick. It doesn't always know where you're going with stuff.
Somebody eventually is going to build a product like this where it converses with grandma for the last, 5 or 10 or 15 years of grandma's life to eventually create an AI that would respond the way that grandma does. So when grandma eventually dies, they can give you the grandma AI that will respond as grandma would, so you don't feel guilty never having talked to grandma in the last decades of her life.
Wouldn't that be like training it with quote unquote bad data? Like what if it's just really, really racist?
Yeah, toward the end it's racist and Alzheimer's, and
it's like, oh, this is Grandma. I want to revert this patch to Grandma 1.0.
Let me just load up the grandma database, and let's just roll back conversations the last 5 years. Yeah. Let's try that again.
It looks like, or the robot's talking to her. It's like, it looks like you want to talk about the war, and it's like, no.
I really do think that would be a good product too, because you could give an old person, like there could be some upsides of this, even though it's like a dark and terrible, and you think about it and it's like, it really is sort of darkest timeline stuff. But if you had an old person that wants to say certain things or pass certain things on to the family, they could do that in this piece of technology without it being awkward while they're still alive. And it could be innocent things too. It's like, here's my cookie recipe, blah blah blah, and then you could say like, hey Jibo, do you know grandma's chocolate chip cookie recipe? Yes, she shared it with me on December 12th, 1997.
But that assumes that that bot keeps getting updates from the company and it doesn't just become obsolete, which is going to happen. So what she could have just written it down on a card.
Yeah, but then nobody, it's like she was a bit of a hoarder, and so it's like,
everyone just throws it away.
Yeah. It's like, which card do we keep?
Who knows?
Speaking of things that we've thrown away that we probably shouldn't have.
Midwestern US has lost 57.6 billion metric tons of soil due to agricultural practices, study finds.
Now, it said there's an update. I was not able to find the update here.
Well, this has been known for a while. So tilling every year is actually kind of a destructive practice, and it loosens up the soil in such a way that it's easier for it to blow away. That's part of the reason we had the Dust Bowl, because they pulled up the original native grasses, which had deep tap roots that could survive droughts, and then they put in wheat. Wheat can't survive droughts, so we had several years of drought during the Great Depression, and then that caused the Dust Bowl. And now they're like, that might be happening again. And it's like, that's not good.
Is this like when the Sahara desert dust shows up in places that it's not supposed to because it's just carried so far in the atmosphere?
It could be. I don't think that maybe that's going to happen, but hopefully not.
Speaking of things carried much farther than they're supposed to be.
The original Winamp skin is selling as an NFT. It's going to charity, which is something, but it is an NFT, so...
It's original 1997 graphical skin. Yeah, my computer was so crappy that I couldn't play MP3s with Winamp. I had to use the Fraunhofer MP3 player because Winamp took just a little bit too much CPU.
I didn't have a computer in 1997. I had access to one at my elementary school. But we just used it to play Oregon Trail and nothing else.
Well, I don't think that. I don't. Do you think?
This is clickbait.
This is totally clickbait. But I was going to ask: do you think in a different timeline you would have gone more into the science, technology, and engineering? Because even though you have an art degree, you're still pretty hard in the technology camp.
This might have made me. I wanted to have time to do a minor in computer science, but my program for art was just too much. It was very strenuous. I don't think I would have had time.
Hours.
Yeah.
No, I get it.
To keep students in STEM fields, let's weed out math classes. That was a strange thing to actually say out loud, but I understood what it meant when I read it.
So, I think the problem is that the math classes before the weed out math classes have gotten way easier. Or way dumber.
The thing they were talking about here specifically was classes like calculus. And a lot of programs are removing them for, I guess, quote unquote, softer sciences. So like biology, you don't have to take calculus anymore. And I actually confirmed this. A friend of mine is a forestry major. She works at a outdoor park and does like the management of the wilderness there. And I asked her, I was like, did you have to take calculus? And she's like, no. She was like, I would never use calculus in my day job. Like, she's like, I have to do lots of other stuff, but not calculus.
I actually think that calculus should be taught in elementary school, like 6th, 7th, 8th grade kind of thing, because your brain can absorb it then, and if you have to figure it out later and you haven't had a good math background, that is unnecessarily difficult. Because most of, and like, the way that I really came to understand, like, you can't just math students. You have to give them real-world practical applications so that they understand it, and you can do that through physics. It's pretty easy to teach physics in, like, the 6th, 7th, 8th grade level, freshman and high school level. And using physics as a basis to teach some of the higher abstract math will absolutely condition your brain the way that it needs to be without having to devote an unreasonable amount of time to the curriculum. We figured that out a long time ago, but...
I actually had that exact same problem because I was very bad at math when I was in school. And I remember distinctly sitting in a classroom doing algebra in I think it was like 6th or 7th grade. And I asked the teacher, I was like, when am I ever going to use this? And she was like, there's a little, I think I've talked about this story before, but there's like a little thing at the beginning of this chapter explaining what you could use this for. And it was calculating the walking speed of a dinosaur. And I was like, this is not...
That's not actually useful.
Yeah, but I mean, it probably was, but they don't teach it that way. They don't teach it that way at all.
Yeah, the last place that I used some of the physics math was approximating a spring to make something have a spring-like behavior in a user interface so that it felt a little more natural than just click and it was like over here.
See, I'm the kind of person, though, when I have to do animations like that, I just tweak the numbers until it feels right. And that's actually kind of also illustrates our approach to, like, camera work. You're very like, okay, this is the number it needs to be on. And I'm just like, I think it looks right now.
Yeah.
Two different approaches, maybe the art versus the science side of things.
Yeah, I'm very, I just have to follow the numbers because that's all I got.
Well, that probably works better and for some things, like white balance.
Yeah.
Someone's going to be like, actually, your guys' camera work is garbage,
It
and here's why.
is. But,
yeah, we kind of just keep it on a tripod for the news and don't do much with it.
Eventually, we'll hire somebody that knows what they're doing, but...
we got to get the green screen room set up.
Not today. Yeah, we got all the stuff for that. Oh, you need to find a table.
Yeah, I've been kind of looking around on Marketplace, and all the tables are garbage right now.
We could build another one.
Yeah, we could. That probably might be easier. But I kind of like the idea of doing a circular table, so it's more of like a conversational format.
Or just like pieces. They did the, like, there's like 3 pieces on some others, and then it's like, oh, it needs to be a circle or a U or whatever. They just
can be
them.
moved around.
I don't know, Chad. I don't know. You know what else I don't know?
I think this is great. Senate passes bill to make daylight savings time permanent.
Now, this is not permanent yet, but it's cleared the first hurdle.
There's
still got a lot.
The House now, but
yeah, so
I would be cool with this because after work, I hate it when you get off work and it's dark, because then you can't have any time to do anything outside. But if it stayed light longer,
I would like for it to. Let's see, what is it? Spring forward, fall back. I want them to do the fall back one more time and then just stop messing with it.
Because you want the extra hour sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be nice too. But
sleep.
But sunlight.
Sleep.
Have you seen sun though? Because I haven't for months, and now that the time's changed, I'm feeling it.
Sleep. You know what else? Driver crash.
Oh, we're back. Doritos will now have 5 fewer chips thanks to inflation. For those of you who don't listen to our Patreon podcast, Wendell had some pretty funny pictures of a bag of Special K that he got recently that had this same phenomena.
I think that was so I got another box, and it was about 20% more filled than that bag. So I'm thinking that must have just been
maybe a fluke,
a packaging mistake or whatever. But, cynical as we are, probably every 20th box has that packaging mistake.
Yeah.
And so...
and this is hilarious. 5 fewer chips. What a specific number. And they're not counting it.
They call this shrinkflation because they don't change the price. They just give you less.
Yeah. And that's happening everywhere right now.
Like they did with my cereal.
Angry enough that you took a photo.
I did, yeah. It was BS because it was like, this box is kind of light. And then I opened the bag, and it was like, that's kind of a long way down there. And then I pulled it out.
This is like 2 bowls of cereal, yeah.
What is this? This is not acceptable.
Garbage is what it is.
Not acceptable. And I'm sure that company is posting record profits as well. Ugh. And the people that are working there are overworked and underappreciated. And this.
An aggressive squirrel has taken a bite out of this eastern Ontario town. I have not seen this story. I missed this one.
They've been nipped by the fearless rodent. Rodent is unhappy that you're not giving it snacks.
Oh, well, that's on you. If you feed the wildlife, you can't feed it.
A lot of the times it's the case that, a college campus will have trees and squirrels. And then people will feed the squirrels. But sometimes if you don't feed the squirrels, it doesn't know what it's doing wrong. And so it will run up and it's like, hey, you're not giving me any food. It'll nibble on you to let you know that it's expecting you to give it food.
Just like my cat.
Because that's what it's learned. It doesn't know.
Well, what's the other thing they say? A fed bear is a dead bear. Don't feed the bears because they will come around and then someone will shoot them.
Yeah, they've learned to go to humans for food, which is not great. Speaking of things that are not great.
NFT image of Pepe the Frog's butt sparks lawsuit. Let's scroll down so they can see it.
This is an NFT.
Look how luxurious that is.
Someone paid $537,000 for that.
The artist was not the person who made the NFT.
No.
So the artist, I think, kind of undercut it, and then the guy got really angry.
Well, they gave away 46 of the 99 for free. And so the guy that bought this first one said, hey, this devalued the image to $30,000. You shouldn't have done that.
It's almost like this is just a scam, and you paid for a picture of a cartoon butt. What is this world we're living in?
I like how the article ends with like, oh, maybe Matt should draw some more NFT art and then use that to pay the guy that's upset.
Except the artist wasn't even involved here. Like, the artist just had the art taken and made a profit.
It's definitely there's some type of bankruptcy involved in here, and it's not necessarily a monetary one.
Yeah.
Speaking of that,
speaking of moral bankruptcy, Mike Tyson is making pot edibles in the shape of a bitten ear.
I think this is much funnier. Oh, where's the picture?
I gotta go up to the tweet and click on it. Scroll down, pic.twitter. There you go. They do look like ears.
Oh, they're gummy ears.
Ugh.
With the marijuanas.
I smoked the marijuana like a cigarette. I guess if you're into that kind of thing, someone on the maple syrup subreddit, which is something I follow because of course I do, someone made, you can make candy if you boil the syrup long enough. And they had put it in leaf-shaped molds, and I don't think the person realized that they were pot leaf molds. And they're like, look, it's maple leaves. There was the comments like, that's not what that is. Yeah. The candies look great, but that's not what that is.
Speaking of that's not what that is.
Ever stuck, Suez container ship's cousin runs aground in U.S. harbor.
330-meter, the Ever Forward ran into trouble in the Chesapeake Bay. So it's stuck there.
Isn't that... I might be thinking of a different bay, but isn't that pretty common there?
Yeah.
Like it's a shallow bay, so you have to kind of be careful.
Yeah, and this ship is really heavy.
So it's just, bottomed out. I imagine you wait for the tide, it'll come back.
Yeah. Oh,
hopefully.
boy, our next one. There's lots of commentary for you on our next story.
Insulting and out of touch, Australians lambast government phallic women's network logo. I can kind of see it. That's a question you always have to ask yourself when you're designing a logo. Does this bear even a little bit of a resemblance to genitalia? Because people will see it.
That's on the checklist.
It really is.
The efficiency development checklist. It's like, okay, number 37.
Does the logo look like genitalia? Well, a few years ago, Airbnb redid their logo, and it also kind of had some weird connotations, and a lot of people commented on it. So this is something you have to think about.
Yeah, but there's the... you gotta think about how far you go with it. So there was one logo I saw that was like a House of the Rising Sun logo. Do you know which one?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's just
it looks like a butthole.
Yeah, and it's just like, I didn't see that until somebody pointed out to me that it was really funny. And it was like, oh, yeah, I get that.
In terms of like potentially genital-shaped logos, I don't think this one's really that egregious. I don't think it's a good logo. It could have been better.
Is it as egregious as the religious symbol where it's like, it was the do you know immediately what I'm talking about when I say the religious logo that was like an adult figure and a child figure, and it looked like the child figure was doing something really bad? I
also know, yeah. I don't remember what organization it was for, but yeah. This one is maybe like a 3 on that scale. I can maybe see it. I just think it's kind of lazy. It's just a lazy logo. Let's not make it anything worse than what it is.
They probably paid $100,000 for that.
Well, So a lot of people are like, I don't understand why logos are really expensive. And a lot of times if you're doing a big branding project like this, it's not just the logo you're paying for. You're also paying for business cards and letterhead and signage. So that's where part of the cost comes into.
And also all of the designs that they didn't accept. Because
there's a lot of iteration that goes into a larger brand campaign.
Having been adjacent to some of those projects, not any of our projects, but like having been adjacent to some of those, that is the worst example of a project where it's bring me a rock. No, this is the wrong rock. Bring me another rock.
Design work is often like that, and I've tried lots of different strategies of like I'll have clients show me exemplars of what they like, and I make them write down what they like about it and what they don't like about it, and that helps a lot. And I'll send them a mood board, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of the vibe. Is this right? And they're like, yes, that's right. You send them a design with all of their initial feedback stuff, and they're like, no, that's not right.
And then you get done with all of it, and it's like,
Yeah, you finish the whole website, and you send it to them for final review, and they're like, what if we did this instead? And it's like, I mean, it's fine. If you want to pay for it, that's fine. But, okay, all right.
Our next story, I don't know, Ryan put this in here.
I don't know what the point of it, but it did kind of make me laugh, mainly because the mayor is a woman.
It does make me laugh, yeah.
Yeah.
But, you should probably say bleep.
Okay. Yeah. YouTube might get us for this.
Yeah.
I have the biggest blank in Chicago. Mayor Lightfoot sued for defamation, accused of profane comments.
I don't think she should be sued for profane comments, but they are
definitely profane, though.
There was a heated argument about taking down a Christopher Columbus statue. And she accused everyone of turning that into some sort of bleep wagging contest.
Yeah. And then she was like, I have the biggest bleep here. And again, probably not the best thing to say, but I also kind of appreciate it. Mainly because as a woman, like...
I kind of get it.
Yeah. It's funnier because a woman said it.
I kind of get it. And, more power to her in her quest to just whatever it is that she's doing.
Whatever she's doing. Just getting sick of everybody.
And this one hit a little close to home, too.
Yeah, I was like, this is just so we can talk about the one here. Santa Barbara Chick-fil-A could be declared a public nuisance due to long drive-thru lines.
I think that the military should really enlist the help of Chick-fil-A for like their logistics stuff, because it is incredible. Yes, the lines at Chick-fil-A are very long, but the logistics of the fast food experience at Chick-fil-A is singular. They are in a completely different sector for every other fast food operation in America. It is completely insane. A tiny little Chick-fil-A that looks like it's designed for something on the order of 100 cars an hour can easily manage 800 cars an hour. It is completely insane.
My mom got us Chick-fil-A gift card a couple years ago, and we still haven't used it because the one here is always so packed. But every time I talk to my mom about it, I'm like, oh, we'll use it eventually. She's like, no, you don't understand. She said that exact same spiel. She was like, they go so quick, you won't even realize you're in line.
Yeah, my mom was in a mood, and the only thing that would appease her was Chick-fil-A. And so it was, the wrap around the building was 3 cars deep. And it was like, okay, maybe it would be faster if I parked. No, okay, I'll get into the drive-thru. It's fine. And I was in and out in maybe 15 minutes, which is...
For the amount of cars, that's not bad. Yeah,
for the amount of cars, that's incredible. I mean, 15 minutes is what you would expect at a Wendy's where, the drive-thru line is like maybe 3 or 4 cars past from the turn.
Whereas, and the B team, Taco Bell, 15 minutes is just if there's like 2 cars in the drive-thru.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing in there.
But apparently in Santa Barbara, they're upset because there's not enough real estate to contain the line of cars. So... But yeah,
you could probably branch that into some sort of discussion about how all the infrastructure in the U.S. is built for cars and not for people. But yeah, I won't make that argument.
I mean, they don't even use the drive-through speaker. They have somebody with a tablet who's moving backward through the line, getting your orders in, and so the kitchen and all of whatever's happening.
So it's ready to go. They can just dump it in your car.
They don't even have Flippy. Can you imagine if they added Flippy to the lineup?
It'd be levels of efficiency Germans would be envious of.
Speaking of levels of efficiency the Germans would be envious of. Oh, wait, no.
Russian fast food chain backed by Parliament to replace McDonald's reveals near identical branding. I actually included a story for this before I realized Ryan already put one in. Because I was like, this is kind of a design story. This is the laziest rebrand I've ever seen. Did you put it on there so they could see it?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
It's literally just a B, which I'm sure that's something else in Cyrillic. I think it's Uncle. It says there. Is it Vanya? Vargya?
Uncle Vanya's.
Uncle Vanya's is what it's going to be.
This is amazing. If you've ever seen the movie Coming to America, it's like, this is McDowell's. We have the golden arcs. They have the golden arches. It's different.
Yeah. I like to imagine everything's the same, but there's just like an old man smoking a cigarette, and that's Uncle Vargya, whatever.
Listen, if you haven't seen the Mikhail Gorbachev Pizza Hut commercial, you need to go look that up on the Internet Archive right now. Because, when the Iron Curtain fell, Pizza Hut and all the brands were eager to move in. And, yeah, Gorbachev it's great. You want to be a part of a Pizza Hut commercial? That sounds great. Let's do it. And it's a thing that exists.
See, I saw someone talk about that when all this started, and I was like, that's not real. So I went to YouTube again to look it up, and it's real. And it's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. I
mean, but you can also feel the love. Like, I don't know, I'm projecting here because, it seems like, Gorbachev was saying we can, embrace some of the things that the Western culture enjoys. We don't have to be isolated. It does feel
strangely wholesome, but I don't like that because it's a brand trying to be wholesome.
Yeah. So, but you can see the joy and happiness in his face as he's doing the commercial. Like, he can't hide it, and he's just like, "This is amazing."
Because the end of the commercial, spoiler, is everyone yelling his name and chanting while they're eating their pizza.
Yeah, everybody's happy that they have Pizza Hut. I wonder, he's still alive. I really would love to know what he's thinking, but I don't think that we will ever be permitted to know that.
Yeah, they're never going to talk to him again.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Speaking of absurdity,
I don't even know how to lead into this other than some people react differently. Other than, you should go look up the pizza. We need to return to a time that allowed the Pizza Hut commercial to exist. Not this.
Musk challenges Putin to single combat over Ukraine, and the Russian official calls him a little devil. I don't think this was Putin directly. I think it was another Russian official, but.
See, this is funny, though, because Putin would just polonium him. I mean, problem solved.
I don't understand in what world it's like, why would you ever decide the fate of a country with a duel? And who thinks that way? That's so childish. That man's Elon Musk is in his 50s.
And it's a 50-year-old versus a 70-year-old, so it's a 76-year-old.
That'd be the saddest fight.
Yeah. I mean, granted, Putin was...
Maybe you just let that happen and then you burn down the building it's happening in.
kill two birds with one
stone.
Just literally.
Easy.
Yeah. Oh. Well, speaking of something that wasn't actually killed.
Wasn't actually dead. Video, dead body in Hong Kong bin turns out to be a discarded sex doll.
Ooh. Well, that's good. I'm glad that worked out.
Yeah, this is the last story of the week, and I feel like Ryan probably had stranger commentary on this. I didn't see this at all until, the story. I assumed there was a story about a dead body, and then it was like, oh, whoops.
She said that one of the bin men called the police who requested to speak to her. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's fine. It's just, it's totally okay.
I like the picture of the guys all in hazmat suits examining the body. How angry would you have been? You're like, oh crap, I got a dead body investigation. So you get all your hazmat stuff on, and then it's just a plastic doll.
I would be very happy that I was wearing my hazmat.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point.
It's been discarded
and
for a reason.
And it's probably also covered in garbage juice, along with other types of juice. Maybe it's good that you got the hazmat suit out for that project.
Yeah. So next week should be interesting. We've got the GDC happening this week. So there's going to be lots of game developer stuff happening. I think Computex is on for this year, but the quarantine time is too long, so I probably won't go. Things are heating up.
How long is the quarantine for that?
Right now it's 5 days. So if you go to Taiwan, you have to hole up in a hotel for 5 days before you're permitted out.
That's kind of...
Yeah.
That's kind of crappy. Do they pay for or do you have to pay to...
No, you have to pay for all that. Oh. So it's just kind of like, blah. It's like 5 days in a hotel, and then 3 or 4 days of Computex, and then...
Gotta come back, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just...
That'd be like 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, not that wouldn't be fun. I definitely miss Taiwan, but That's probably not. Probably going to go to Penguicon. We'll see how that goes, unless there's some new variant or something.
Yeah, some hot new variant drops. No, the bird flus are the one that's picking up now.
Great. That's great.
They had to cull birds here in Kentucky. Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
It's not good.
Yeah. And there's apparently some kind of poison in the chicken, the processed chicken. So it's kind of like...
I'm going to have to start buying it from the local market.
Listen, you need a hobby that involves technology. You've come to Level 1. You're in the right place.
We'll see you guys next week. Bye!